Hi there students, it's Mr. V. This video is to be a tutorial to introduce you to the basics of iMovie, what's what, and how to use some basic tools. We'll get more advanced in the future. iMovie can be found on your dock here. It's a gold and black star with a camera in the middle. Now when you look at this, you're probably going to go, whoa, that's scary, it's confusing, what is all this stuff? Don't worry about it. I'm sure a hammer, a screwdriver, or even computers can be scary to people the first time they see them. The more they're used, the more second nature they'll become with time. So let's just break it down into chunks. All right. First, we have what's called the event library over here in the upper left. This window shows all of your raw footage every time you import it into your computer. Now to import, that simply means taking it from the camera, putting it on the computer. Raw footage means any footage that's on that camera that has not yet been edited or enhanced in any way. You know, it's nothing that you would want to show anybody. It's not finished, all right? This little window over here to the side of it shows all of the clips that were imported at that time. This is everything that happened on this date, 5/15. What are these little boxes? Those are called thumbnails. A thumbnail is kind of an abstraction of what your video looks like. And if I mouse over the top of it, I can move my mouse left and right, and over here in this little screen on the right, it'll show me a preview of what the video looks like. If you mouse, say, halfway through and then hit the space bar, it'll play the video just like normal. Now I want to direct your attention to this little tool down here, this little slider with the word all next to it. This is your magnifying glass. It helps you to zoom into your clip so that it's not a single thumbnail that's 13 seconds or a single thumbnail that's 56 seconds. All right? This helps you zoom in to do some fine editing. So if I wanted a very small specific thing that was only 2 seconds long, I could zoom in by sliding my slider over. Now I can move my slider over. I can click and I get this yellow box. If I click on the left side of the yellow box, I can drag it and stretch it. If I click on the right side, I can do the exact same thing. You see this little second counter right next to it? That shows how many seconds long that box is. This is how you take clips that are raw and put them into your video. All right, let's zoom out. If we look down here on the very bottom, this is your workbench. This is your project library, okay? Right now, it's in library mode, which shows me all of my projects. Like here's a hallway etiquette video that I made. Here's a demo I did for digital painting. Here's a GUR video that I did. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project and go File, New. I'm going to name the project Demo. And over here on the left, just to let you know, these are different themes you can use for your video. We'll get into that later. But let's just go average, no theme, hit create. And now I have a blank project. If you want to go back to your library, just click on Project Library. If I want to go in there and edit it, I can click Edit Project. Or I can double click it. So here's how you make a video in iMovie. It's very basic and very easy. What you do is you've got all this raw footage up here, and you only take the parts you want to keep, and you put them down here in your project window, all right? So if I want this video, like this part of it, I would just highlight what I want, click and drag down here, and bam, there's the part. It's still unedited, but that's the gist of how you control what you're doing in your video. If I want to get rid of it, just click it, delete, all right? I can go back up here and grab the exact same thing, drag it again. Now you see this little orange bar right up here on your event window? That tells you what you've already taken to put in your video so that you don't get confused and have duplicates. All right, so there's some footage in here of this young lady doing a double thumbs up. I want to capture that, and so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on how this whole editing thing works. I'm going to zoom out. What you do is you mouse over your footage until you see it. Bam! Oh, there it is. Okay, so I want this clip. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so I've got more control over what I get. Have the little yellow box start where she starts to do the thumbs up. Grab it right about here. And end right about here. All right, click and drag what you want. Now the job's not done yet. we've got a lot of empty space here, and she's off to the right a little bit. So I'm going to introduce you to some new tools. For starters, let's look at this little box here. You'll be using this a lot. This is called the crop tool. To crop means to remove things and get rid of them. We also use the crop tool to zoom in and zoom out. And you can also have an animated zoom in and zoom out effect, which I'll show you also. So what you do is you select the clip, you select the crop tool, and I'm going to go just basic crop here, and you can see there is a big green box around what we've got. We want her in the center of the frame. Okay? So I'm just going to adjust the box so that she is in the middle. So I'm going to shrink the box down a little bit above her head and then hit done. Let's see what the video looks like. Another thing, you can do some fine editing down here as well. If you want to get rid of some lengthy intros on your clip, just highlight what you want down here and then delete it, trim it off. If there's some extra junk at the end, do kind of the same thing. Highlight what you want to get rid of and then hit delete. And it kind of fine-tunes the clip. Pacing still feels a little long, so I'm going to highlight a little bit more just before her arms start to raise. And there. So that is how you grab your footage, and you would do this multiple times. You grab a chunk up here and drag it down, and then maybe there's a different scene over here, and you drag that down as well, and so on. So I'm going to get some footage of Miss Dust here, but as you see, the camera work is very shaky. It's going left and right, left and right. This student did not use a tripod. Very sloppy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get some footage where it's holding still at least. Okay, right about there is where it's looking good. Okay. And that looks usable. Right now I'm not worried about what she's saying. This is just purely visual to show you how the program works. I'm going to click and drag that down here. And if I want this scene at the beginning, it's very easy. I just take the one that's in front and drag it over. Just like that. So let's take a look at what we've got so far. Hit the space bar to play. And she's talking, talking, talking. Oh, do you see that mistake in the background? We want to get rid of that. This extra in the back is like, oh my gosh, we need to get out of here. So I'm going to trim that out. I'm going to get my little yellow box, tell the computer where we want to get rid of it. And this is where, oh my gosh, there's some problems here. I want to time it with the gestures so it looks natural, and delete. Let's see what we got here. That's the basics of editing. You never would have known that there's an error in there. But you see the transition between these two clips? It's pretty abrupt. I'm going to introduce you to another tool. This is called the Transition Browser. And what this is this little box right here. Click on it, and you got all these cool transition effects. All right, you got like a ripple. If you hold your mouse over the top, it shows you what the effect is. You can have a page curl, cross zoom, blur, dissolve, fade to black. It's entirely up to you which ones you want to use. But if you want to use one of these, I'm going to take fade to black. Let's stick it in between the two clips. And you got this little box right here. Let's see what this looks like. Looks pretty good. You can control how long the effect lasts. Like for now, this is 0.4 seconds. I'm going to go 1 second. Let's see how it affects the video. It takes a lot longer. Now, just one thing to know: whenever you use a transition, it'll go over the top of some of your footage. So just be aware of that. So another tool that you'll be using very frequently is called the voiceover button. The microphones in our cameras here are not very good. Most of what you record will be done in post-production. That means on the computer after you've shot all your footage. Rarely will you use anything that comes from your raw footage for audio unless you're doing an interview or that kind of thing. But how this works is if you want to record a voiceover, you click on the mic and your voice, this little voiceover window pops up, and let's just walk through it. If you're recording from a handheld mic, you would select that. We don't have one on this computer, so just built-in input. Right here it controls input volume. That shows how sensitive the mic is, and right down here are your voice levels. You want your levels about in the 30% to 50% range. If your mic is too sensitive, then you'll be hot. You'll be turning orange and red, and it sounds very poor. If it's too low, your levels are going to be barely noticeable. So before you even talk, check your levels. Talk normally and control your input volume. All right, so that's about right. And then what you do, with this window up, it gives you instructions here on your preview. All you do is click where you want the voiceover to begin. And I want, right about when her thumbs pop up, to go, woohoo! All right, so I want that to begin right about here. And I'm going to click. You'll see a 3-second countdown, and then you talk.
Make sure that you got your study skill.
Woohoo! All right, a little loud. I can do it again. This little purple box that just popped up, that is the audio that you just recorded. If you want to get rid of it, click it and hit delete. What you can do with this little purple box is really cool. You can click and drag it left and right to adjust where it shows up in the timing. You can see right down here it shows the sound patterns where it's really low and then peaks up at a wave, like a mountain point over here. We want that to match where her thumbs pop up. So I'm going to line up this little top part of the mountain with where her thumbs come out of nowhere, so right about there. Another cool thing is you can trim parts of the audio. Like if I have all this dead space before I said woohoo, you can make a little yellow box and get rid of all of the junk before the woohoo and hit delete. All right, another tool that we use is where we use music or sound effects, and we can import those by clicking on this little musical note button here. And what this does is it'll open up your iTunes library, and if you have a different folder where there's different sound effects or other tunes, you can just click the top. iMovie comes with all of these different sound effects. Now I also have the ability to download sound effects off the internet. You can too, and if you have some sound effects you want to use, like the sound of a swoosh or a punch sound effect, do a Google search and find it and put them in a folder and use it in your video. What you do is you find a sound effect you like, sample it using your space bar, and hey, that sounds good. So I'm going to click and drag it, and I put it on top of the video where I want the sound effect to be. And so that swoosh I want to be right when her hands are moving. All right, that is green. My voiceover is purple. And again, you can move them over left and right to manipulate them. So here we go. Let's see what it sounds like.
You got your study skill.
Yeah, pretty sloppy yet. I still have a lot of work to do to get it timed. This is like brain surgeon work. Very small movements with the mouse. If you want to make it easier on yourself, just see this little slider, just like before. Slide it over and you can zoom in a lot closer. Okay, here's another tool that you can use. The letter T is called a title browser. When you want words or anything in your movie, open it up and you got several examples. You can mouse over the top of it to give you a preview of what it looks like. I'm going to pick the drifting one. And let's move that right over here. I'm going to paste it on top of my, my video where I want it to show up. And I want the letters to show up right about where you hear the woohoo sound. So the little red bar represents where it's going to be. I'm going to put it right at the peak of the noise. All right, and over here is where you manipulate your text. And now this little blue box is the text. You can mouse over it to give you kind of a preview of what it's going to look like.
Your study skill.
Now if I want that to last longer, if I want the text to last longer, I can just click on the text, go grab the outside of the box and drag it. And you can see right about here the seconds counter is a little bit longer. I'm going to show you guys something else that's kind of cool with Add Sound Effects or Music Browser. If you have music, like an actual song, you go into iTunes, you can grab it, and instead of dropping it on top of your timeline, put it in the background. Turns the whole thing green. Now you got this big green window that goes around your whole piece. But unfortunately, since our video is only 5 seconds long, the background music will only be 5 seconds in length. If you want a picture in your video, just click on the camera, any photos that you have. Here's a picture of myself that I took. You can get these photos from several areas up top. iPhoto, your photo booth, and I believe you have to import your photos into those programs before they will show up on this. I may be wrong, but you can check on your own. So I'm going to grab this clip, put this where I want my face to show up, which is right about where the wah in the wahoo is. Line it up on the purple audio. Drop it, and you're going to see this little window pop up. I'm going to go picture in a picture. Now up here is where I edit how that's going to work. I'm going to drag this right over her face. I'm going to make myself a little bigger, and then hit done. I can also control how long that picture stays on there by simply clicking the picture over here on my timeline, on my project, and shrinking it down like so. All right, we got a lot of stuff going on here. We've got the actual video clip, we've got the voiceover, we've got the sound effect, we've got my face, we've got text, and then we got background music. Just for the sake of confusion, I'm going to get rid of that background music. Now let's play it. And that's editing. Pretty cool. I can use that for a number of things. You can import other graphics that are simply just pictures, and like I could put that over here, make it bigger, and so on. How do you save your work? Well, in iMovie, it is always saved. There is no file save function on this at all. You can close out of your project, open up iMovie, open your project up, and there it is again. That's just the way it goes. This camera right here is how you import footage. All of our cameras have a little USB cord attached to it, and at the end of the class, when you've got your footage, what you do is you take your camera, pop it into the side of your computer where the USBs are at, and there's another video getting in more in detail with that. You click on the camera. Other times it pops up automatically, and you select what clips you want. If there's no camera plugged into it, and you click the camera button, it will use the camera that's built into your computer. This is good for newscasts and so on. The quality is very low, just to warn you, so I wouldn't rely on this much. This little slider affects how big your icons are, if you need to see more. And so what do you do when it's time to turn your video in? You've finished all of your editing, it's time to submit it for a grade now. The way that works is you need to export it. You import your raw footage, edit it, and then export it once it's finished. You do it this way. You go to Share, Export Movie. Now there's a keyboard shortcut, Command E. That's the little command button or the Apple button, and then the letter E. You click on that, and this little window pops up. And what do you want to title it? Well, I'm going to title it Demo. Where's it going to go? Well, you want it to go to either the, wherever you designate to save your footage. Now, finally, this is the most important one. How big is it going to be? Well, for student grade work, we don't need it any larger than large. Medium might be even better for really big projects on a weak computer. You may need to scale it down, and this reduces it in quality. It still looks good, but you don't need to go HD. That's like big screen high def. That's like gigabyte size. And that's all there is to it. And as always, if you have questions, review the video again, or come see me if you have technical difficulties. I'm always here to help you guys. All right, take care.